and this is therefore an extremely serious matter. His links to Epstein were already in the public domain, but some of the defence previously of Keir Starmer over the last several months in Parliament has been that he and his aide, Downing Street, were not aware of how close those links were. So among the very many questions that the Prime Minister will face, basically is who knew when. So some of the key questions: who approved Manafort's clearance? Crucially, why were those concerns overruled and by whom? And it seems that it's Ollie Robbins, the top civil servant at the Foreign Office, who has been what the British media are calling thrown under the bus and is being blamed for keeping this non-clearance, in fact, and that is therefore a very, now another bone of contention, because that same Ollie Robbins is due to appear, if he accepts the invitation, he hasn't yet, before a parliamentary committee tomorrow. Possibly tomorrow for Keir Starmer.
A bit lower, but not much. They had drones, they had missiles with ranges as long as 4,000 kilometers, and they struck your bases. Did the Americans not understand that Iran is a mountainous country? They're not fools. Persia. They hid those weapons in the mountains, in places beyond the reach of American missiles, whatever kind of missile they might be. They hid their weapons, and when you Americans thought you'd won, they struck you with missiles and thousands of drones. Not even Israel's Iron Dome could cope with that, let alone the American bases in the Persian Gulf, or these ships that have brought those missiles there and used them. Yes, you destroyed schools, you destroyed museums, cultural sites, residential buildings, certain power plants and oil fields. You struck them, put them out of commission, destroyed some things, killed some people. You killed Iran's leadership, and that will come back to haunt you. After Venezuela, you showed your face. You killed them, and then what? Others took the place of the leaders, killed. And they're even more radical. You destroy homes in a residential neighborhood, but the people somehow manage. It's a warm country after all. They simply go to tents or somewhere else. The fact you killed children does not do you any credit. They cannot be brought back. But that's not a catastrophe for Iran. And with their Shahed drones, which may be a bit worse than the Americans, though not in some respects, they delivered a corresponding strike. And you say Iran won? No. There is no winner here, and there never will be. Peace may have won out for the moment, but it is so fragile that it still needs to be nurtured. A ceasefire has been declared, and now one must move toward peace. And much here will depend on Donald Trump. It seems his intuition and feelings prevailed in the end, and he realized that it was impossible to go any further, as disaster lay ahead. But I want to warn you that Iran and the Muslim world have realized what Americans are, and you must fact that it will not only be the Iranians, the Houthis and others who will attack Americans around the world. It will be the entire Muslim world, and even those countries you consider friends. They will not simply pursue a policy of caution and wariness. A good many people will emerge there who are set against Americans. You stirred up the entire
and the defeat of Viktor Orban, what do you think is going to change for Europe?
Well, first, what will change for Hungary? Because obviously it has been an extraordinary support to Peter Magyar. I understand that he will have more than two-thirds of the parliament, which is extremely important because he may be able to change even the constitution, or some of the constitutions that has to be changed, to put back, something which is extremely important for us in Europe, rule of law. And yes, it's true that some of my former colleagues, and probably actual colleagues also today, identified that it was many aspects where the former administration under Viktor Orban did not respect rule of law. And it is extremely important because for us, of course, in Europe, you can vote whatever you want. Of course, everyone is totally free, and we never interfere. And when I say we understand others interfere. And needless to say, who interfered last week in these elections, and not only the Russians. But still, for us, what is important is that rule of law is definitely our core value in Europe. It is also our cement between us. And I understand that Peter Magyar is willing to correct a lot of weaknesses, including, by the way, for you, journalists. It listened to. I mean, it was a big, big issue. So now, the good news that he is willing to change this, and of course, then he will do what he wants to do, what he believes is important for his people. But for us, what is important is that all member states follow our rule of law, because this is what makes us stronger together, and it is definitely the core of our project.
The rule of law, obviously crucial, but to have a closer look at what young Hungarians hope will happen now, let's have a look at this report from our own Clovis Casali. He filed this report in the wake of that election result.
Election posters are still up, but Hungarians already know who will soon be governing. Peter Magyar and his Tisza party triumphed in the parliamentary ballot. Many
isn't able to exert influence, it's going to continue to suffer the consequences of American decisions. So I already have two questions out of that. One is, what should Europe have done differently? And also, what should it do now to manage the fallout, particularly on energy prices?
Well, first, again, for this war, of course, we have not been informed or neither consulted. I mean, it has been a unilateral decision by President Trump, and of course, he did what he thought he had to do, but it was not our decision, and again, it was not then our war. We understand why Benjamin Netanyahu asked him to help him, because of course, we understand that the Iranians are willing to destroy Israel for many years, so we understand his position. The position of Donald Trump belongs to him, it belongs to the United States. For us, what it means three things. We have many European citizens and French citizens in the region. It was important to come and to be able to support them if needed. By the way, we had one of our member states which have been impacted by this war, which is missiles from Iran in Cyprus. So it's important because under Article 42.7, we need to help when a country is under attack, and yes, this country has been under attack. This is why, because for us, keeping our commitment is mandatory. I repeat, our commitment is mandatory. Trust for us is key. It's not true everywhere in the planet. For us, it will always remain our compass. And then we came with our aircraft carrier, with many European boats, to again just protect Cyprus, which has been under attack. And the third point, that we have many, let's say, partnerships, security partnerships with members in the Gulf. So we were here to support them, because for us, when we have a defense partnership, we don't bargain. We just fulfill.
Just on the energy question, what is the solution then? Because obviously these energy prices are going up. By the way, airlines are saying that they're already cancelling flights. So this could be quite disastrous for Europeans. And I think you've argued that the question of value-added tax, VAT, is crucial.
Well, but I mean, of course, member states are making money, because of course it's a price increase, and most of them add added value tax on it. I said that it is totally unfair that they're making money for that they have to give back additional money that they make, and especially for the one who need support and help. We can think about farmers, we can think about truck drivers, we can think about anyone who is directly impacted. But personally, I think, and I hope, but I think I will not be wrong, that we are close to an end to this war. We are still now in the process of ceasefire. Within this ceasefire, there are discussions, of course, between Iran and the United States, and I strongly believe that finally we will find, hopefully, an agreement between the two countries. And I think it will be in the interest, of course, of the United States, and especially because what we see here in Europe, in terms of price of gasoline, inflations, price of interest rate is impacted heavily my US friends. So I hope that we will be able to come back soon in a normality.
So to understand you correctly on VAT, should governments reduce VAT, or they should direct the earnings from VAT to help farmers, for example?
For me, direct the additional VAT, let's say amount that they get through VAT to the one needed. Because again, this increase is artificial. We still produce a lot. When it will be over, we'll be able to go back in normality. So I really think that we need, in this interim period, to make sure that no member state, at least in Europe, can make money on this and give back immediately the additional amount that they can get from VAT.
Just a final point. I mentioned that you came under this US travel ban at the end of December. Were you actually planning to, has it...
Art will do everything we can to make it happen, because we understand if the Americans reach an agreement with Russia, it will be twice as good for us compared to any deal reached with just Belarus. You've got to come to terms with Russia, and you can, especially under Vladimir Putin. He's someone you don't just talk to, but actually reach agreements with. One thing has to be clear: if you make a promise, you keep it.
Maybe mastermind behind DSA and also Digital Act
as a symbol of something.
Which is, I just did my job. It's not at all against anyone. It's not against China. It's not against Singapore. It's not against the US. This law is the same for everyone. It has been, by the way, voted at 90% by our MEPs, our Member of Parliament. It has been voted by 27 countries. So this is not Thierry Breton. This is Europe. So I understand that behind my case, it's Europe, of course, which is targeted. And I really hope that we will come in normality, because there is a huge misunderstanding of what we have done together in our own European digital space.
On a more personal note, though, of course, President Macron of France strongly supported you when you came under that travel ban, but apparently the European Commission and Ursula von der Leyen, not so much.
That's your appreciation. That's your appreciation, and maybe I share your view.
All right, we'll end it on that note. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Belarus what it is today. I won't say whether the country is good or bad, it is what it is. You said it's a decent country, the people live good lives here, a peaceful, safe country. Naturally, I want to see that preserved. I want it to remain a land of opportunity, where anyone can realise themselves. In that sense, we've succeeded. Any person can lead a normal, quiet life here, raise children, get an education, with everything being on. My son, the president's son, studied in a village school alongside everyone else and still keeps in touch with many of them. He later got admitted into Peking University, one of the world's top universities where courses are taught in English. But he worked for it. He was always an overachiever. Under equal conditions, and I made sure of that, he outperformed about half of his classmates. Opportunity is key. Others had them too. Many went on to higher education. That's the kind of Belarus I want to preserve. Some people have more opportunities, some less, but everyone has them. And my life story is an example of that too.
But will everyone have an opportunity? To become the next leader of this country? Or will people be punished for being the opposition? Which is a question that's asked in the...
If we don't retire, Rick, we'll still go fishing at your place.
Okay.
Different time. There was a lot of boat rigging, even violence, and I still got 80.3%. I remember it well. The people stood by me very strongly. I keep that ideal in my mind, and I will follow the same path. If the people don't want it, then, like the saying goes, you can't force a person to love you. I believe that long before I pass on, and even before we're both retiring and going fishing in the United States, there will be a capable new person leading Belarus. We've got plenty of smart...
By forging relationships not just with one side, but with all sides.
Prime Minister about today's proposed peace talks in Pakistan that Iran now says it will not even be attending. And as Iran accuses the US of a clear breach of their ceasefire after the US attacked and seized an Iranian-flagged cargo ship it said had tried to evade its naval blockade near the Strait of Hormuz. To a resistance in
a lot of confusion regarding these talks, the possible talks in Islamabad, Pakistan, because there's a lot of conflicting reports coming from everywhere. If you listen to Washington, if you listen to U.S. President Donald Trump, he says the talks are happening, that he's sending his team and everything's on schedule. If you look at the events in Islamabad, Pakistan, it looks like the talks are happening because of extensive preparations underway, extensive security measures. However, if you listen to the statements coming from Tehran, listen to state media, the talks are not happening. State media reporting that all the claims and all the reports that the talks are happening in Pakistan are not true. State media saying Tehran has not agreed to take part in these negotiations because of Washington's failure to lift the naval blockade of the Persian Gulf, blocking vessels going to and from Iranian ports. State media also saying that Washington is making excessive demands and has not abided by the ceasefire. Another indication that the talks are not happening is the spokesperson of the foreign ministry. He's part of the negotiating team. He's not in Pakistan at this hour. He's right here in Tehran. So that's where things stand. And this is all an outcome, seemingly, of Iran's new tone and new messaging that they're intentionally sending out. That they have the leverage, that they're in the driver's seat, that they're not going to be bullied and pressured by Washington. But unless Washington abides by the ceasefire, they're not going to take part in them. So will things change in the coming hours? Will things change in the coming days? We'll see at this as this ceasefire is approaching an end on Wednesday.
Yeah, very tense